What's up, my beautiful podcast listeners? This is Will Chow of Will's Personal Development Show, coming at you live from willyouLaugh.com through the power of Apple Podcasts and Stitcher and all that goodness through your mobile phone. So let's just get started here. Today I have a very special interview. Now, I don't do many interview type podcast episodes. One, because they're a bit of a hassle, but two, because everyone else is doing them. They're kind of just churning and burning content. And sometimes, a lot of times, I know because I'm a huge podcast junkie and interview junkie, they ask the interviewees almost the same question each time. So I feel like it's just repetitive and they're just kind of doing it to get subscribers or followers or something, because I don't know. It's just like the same thing. And like, what's the point? If I want to interview someone, I want to actually learn something new. Maybe interview someone who doesn't get interviewed often. And so I actually interviewed this man. His name's Mike. Squattin Casanova is his username on YouTube. I interviewed him a while ago, a couple of years ago. However, I re-listened to the whole interview, and I think most of this talk, and probably like 95% of it, is timeless advice that I think will be relevant years and years from now, maybe even 50, 100 years from now. It will still be relevant. And therefore, I think it's incredibly useful. So I'm going to share this interview with you guys, this exclusive interview. We talk a lot about a lot of things, from whether or not racism plays a role in dating, to a bunch of other things in the dating realm. He is a dating coach, and we talk about a lot of things about how balance is more important than being extremely good at one area that's attractive to women, but really bad at many others. How it's also the law of diminishing returns and how it applies to health and fitness and dating. How to succeed in growing muscle mass if you're a skinny guy. If you're Asian, how does that play into dating? Can you still get women of other ethnicities if you're Asian? We talk about all sorts of stuff, including how to get better if career matters, or if you should get your career settled first before you start worrying about dating, or so on and so forth, and all the different attributes that matter. It goes really into depth, and I can only briefly cover what we're going to talk about. So without further ado, I'm going to just input the actual interview. So let's get started. Thanks for listening. What's up, guys and girls? My name is Will, as you guys all know, and I'm here today with Mike, also known as Squattin Casanova. He has his own YouTube channel, and he does a lot of stuff. His blog actually is titled Dating, Self-Improvement, Bodybuilding, Photography, Lifestyle, and Everything Alpha. And he's actually very big in the pickup artist community. I'm actually in it too. I've referenced it in numerous of my videos. So Mike, don't be afraid to talk about anything related to PUA. Today, though, we want to focus on, I'm actually very fascinated by you, and there's specific things I really want to talk about. So first off, can you introduce yourself and anything I miss?
Yeah, sure. My name is Mike. I would say I got into the pickup community, started reading about it 2006, but then I was on and off with my girlfriend. So I didn't really, other than reading, I didn't really get into it till probably end of 2010. I went to a dating seminar, met a dating coach slash instructor. His name was DJ Fuji, and became his assistant. And then over the course of 2 years, I kind of went out, and also I helped him grow his own business, and also kind of partook in his boot camps, and where he would take guys out into clubs and malls to socialize. And I got to the point where I got good enough myself, and we ended up splitting off. And then I'm currently in Vegas teaching mostly pickup and dating, more so on the front end, more so on how to get the girl, not so much on keeping the girl. But I think, sorry. But I think a lot of the guys when they get into it, obviously getting the girl comes before keeping the girl. So most guys, their demand is more getting the girl first. So I take them out to clubs and also malls, and I've noticed that Vegas is a pretty good place to do that because the malls and the clubs are so huge, and you don't run out of females to talk to.
Yeah,
So it's
there's
kind of
actually
like my
something
background.
very interesting. Like, I was reading your blog, and one of the things you said in one of your articles was that it's a small world out there, and you have about a few thousand subscribers. But you mentioned how when you walk into a nightclub, wherever you are, you'll get at least like 3 or 4 people who know who you are, and that can be a double-edged sword. What do you
Right.
think about that? Yeah.
It's it. Yes, I get recognized, but that's still within a very small kind of community of guys that do pick up and go to Vegas a lot. So yeah, I'm kind of noticed, but if you go to just like a normal environment, I'm pretty anonymous. So it is a small world, but then it kind of isn't as well. If you're looking at guys who watch a lot of pickup videos and know a lot about Vegas and go to Vegas a lot, of course they're going to bump into me. So within that realm, I do get noticed, but no girl recognizes me. I think only like two girls have recognized me ever that they've seen me somewhere, and that's like within the last 4 years. So that's really not an issue from a girl's perspective,
Is
I
it a good
guess.
thing or a bad thing when they recognize you? Like, is it like, oh, you're famous, or is it just like, uh,
I've never really had any issues. I think most guys that come up to me are, pretty sincerely good guys, nice guys. I'll usually spend some time just chat with them. Obviously, if I'm on boot camp, I can't really spend the whole night chatting. But I would say overall it's a good thing. It's always nice to kind of see, to kind of like put a face on the person, like in real life, as opposed to just watching somebody on video, I guess.
I see. So tell me a little bit about your success stories because I feel like you've definitely, coached some guys and seen some crazy stuff, like maybe a ugly guy or a short guy who managed to get a
Um,
girl.
yeah, success stories in terms of my students or myself.
Either
My
one.
student. Let's talk about myself. I kind of, I started working out before I really started going out and did pick up and approaching girls. So when it came to, I guess I didn't look like the stereotypical Asian guy. Well, I do, like my face is, but I'm fairly muscular, so that gives me an advantage. And I took a lot of comedy, so I didn't really have any cultural gaps to when it came to talking to, let's say, pretty much Asian, white, Latina girls. I would say I'm pretty good with pop culture and things like that. I came to the U.S. when I was 5, so I don't really have an accent, so that kind of helped me there. Um, so yeah, before I really started going out consistently, you don't really have a metric in terms of how bad you are. But once I started working for a dating company and I kind of saw the spectrum of people, I guess I could say I'm pretty fortunate. I'm not on the more of the difficult end. So I would say my progress is fairly good, but obviously I did put in a lot of work. I did consistently go out um, almost every weekend for 3 years straight. So I did put in my dues. When it comes to my students, it really depends on just positivity and mindset. Um, if you're positive and you're consistent, it's everybody who's had that criteria have had decent success. The shortest guys I've had, one was 5'2" and one was 5'3". They both got laid within a month of taking a boot camp. Now, what they lacked in height, they made up in just most positive, most enthusiastic guys I've ever met. One guy was like in the Marines, and another guy was like a school teacher. Both of them had that kind of go attitude. But then, you always have a spectrum of people. There are people that are lazy that don't go out. There are guys that, have a job where they're in a lab 60 hours a week. They can't really go out. And, and the progress is limited. So really, it's kind of what you do after the boot camp. If you're consistently going out and you work on the homework that I give you, you will get results. Um,
Right.
but if you take a boot camp and you take like 2 months off, you're gonna forget everything you learned.
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting thing. What you said about the Asian thing, this is something I can't ask most other dating coaches because they're not Asian. So I want to, see your opinions on this. Do you think there's any sort of difference to being Asian in terms of talking to Caucasian people or
Uh,
anything? You get the idea what I'm saying.
yeah, so this is my perspective. First and foremost, uh, within a race, people are always going to be more attracted to that particular race. That's just how life and statistics works. You see more black people date black people. You see more Asians date Asian people. You see more whites date white people. It has to do with your upbringing. People tend to like other people that they grew up with, or of similar type. It also explains why a lot of adopted Asian girls who were raised in white families tend to like white guys. Um, so from a pure physical attractive point of view, um, is it do white people prefer other white people a little bit more? Sure, okay. But if you have game as an Asian person, can you still get white girls? And the answer is yes. So is it statistically a little bit harder? I would say yes. But is it so hard that you can't get white girls? The answer is no. So yes, there are some hurdles, but it's nothing that you can't achieve. And then kind of part two of this is it's not so much inherently being Asian that holds you back. It's some of the Asian upbringing and the qualities that kind of holds most Asian guys back, right? It's their parents focusing too much on academics. Growing up, they don't get as much social exposure. They don't get as much activity exposure where they're dealing with other people, team sports, you know, extracurricular activities. That holds you back. There's also the kind of the Asian upbringing where you want to keep your head down, you don't want to be argumentative, you don't want to talk to strangers. So that's going to hold you down. And a lot of a lot of Asian guys don't emphasis on working out and being in shape, being muscular. So they have kind of that timid. Not only are they timid from a personality point of view, they're also timid physically. So you get just double timidness. And when you go up to a girl, you have those stereotypes. You're instantly going to be categorized in a certain type of bucket. Whereas, let's say you're an alpha male Asian guy, you don't get put in that bucket. So if you fix those characteristics, and you're Asian, it doesn't really matter that much.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always like to think of, you obviously know who RSD Tyler is, right?
Yeah.
I like to think if like he took over my body and he was in my body, what would happen? Like, would there be a difference? So you don't think there's other people sort of like uh, they prescribe something because you're Asian when you walk up before you even say anything? I mean, I'm sure there is some factor about that, but you think it can all be washed away with your personality and um, I guess your inner game?
Dress, how you style your hair, and your physical
Oh,
style.
hold on, your camera went off again.
Oh, hold on. I don't know what's going on. Okay. All right, cool. It's everything. It's your personality. It's your physique. It's your body language. It's your inner game. It's everything.
Okay.
Um, so work on all facets. I think when it comes to getting girls, it's never one thing. Obviously, game helps, but different girls like different things. Some girls like being funny more than being physically muscular or being buff. Some girls just want a buff guy. So the more kind of universally intrinsic qualities that you can get, the better.
So for yourself, do you have any like, what are you like, the biggest obstacles in your life that you thought you had to overcome, and you thought that were like the toughest things for you, inside or outside of dating?
Um, there wasn't one big thing. It was just like a lot of little things. I studied engineering when I was in college, so I kind of had that career and lifestyle squared away. So, I could afford to do the things that I want before I started doing pickup. Right? And then, I started weightlifting about a year after I started working after college. So, I got my body in check. So I kind of tackled little things, bits and pieces at a time. And it was interesting that pickup and dating was like the last of the three things, right? Lifestyle, fitness, and then game. So I kind of worked on that last. So because I had the other two handled, it wasn't that I had to like focus on all three at the same time. That would have been overwhelming. Like for somebody who's skinny, still in college, no money, and still had to go out and game, that's going to be challenging. So, but but yeah, there wasn't like specifically one thing. Probably the biggest thing for me was just that initial hurdle of going out. I would say I kind of started reading, dating, and pickup for a long time, but I never actually went out and did it. So I guess I would just advise people to, reading doesn't really do much if you don't get that like exposure of going out. Because everything you read is just going out. It's just going out the window. You're gonna freeze up, and you meet a girl who's not necessarily friendly or receptive, and it's not like, oh, let me recall this book, page 53. Oh, it tells me to do that. You just freeze up. So reading doesn't really help when it comes to starting out.
Yeah, there's an analogy. It went something along the lines of like you can't. It's like reading a book on how to play basketball or play tennis. It's just you can only do so much by reading.
Right.
Yeah. So in terms of ideal situations for men, in terms of what is holding them back. Let's say for the audience or for females out there. What do you think? And I think you probably get this more from men, but for females out there as well, what do you think hold them back, and what can they do about not just dating, but in terms of being more happy with their lives? I know one possible thing is geographic area. A lot of people live in small areas where there's not a lot of other guys to meet.
Right. Well, if you're a female and you want to meet a lot of guys, I would go to cities like San Francisco and LA where there's a surplus of men. And if you're a guy, New York and Miami are great. There's a surplus of women. And obviously Vegas is a good place to live if you can find a career or lifestyle or job that lets you live in Vegas. Now, I have a lot of advice for guys, but in terms of females, I don't really know. Like simple things like work out, stay in shape, go to places and meet people. Obviously, if you want to meet somebody, you do have to be more receptive. It's funny. I don't want to. For females, a lot of it is, girls care more about, well, how should I put it? As a guy, you have a lot of ways to boost your kind of overall value, right?
Right.
Looks, status, career, money, who you know, things like that. Personality. I don't know, for females, I think guys care more so about like the physical attraction. I think personality does matter. So Go to the gym, go to places where you can meet people. Now, I probably wouldn't recommend a girl going out to the club every night to meet uh, guys. It's probably not an ideal place, but
Hey, are you there?
hold on, okay. So I wouldn't recommend that girls go to clubs every night like how guys do it, but perhaps social settings where you can actually meet people that are within your social circle. Um, so yeah, that's my advice.
Okay, cool. So uh, one big thing is that you actually don't just focus on this. You actually work out. You actually do fitness as well.
Mhm.
And I mean, a lot of other people they don't place as much emphasis on that. Uh, how do you do that? And how do because I mean I've seen your body. You've got like six pack
Mhm.
abs and so forth. So how do you balance all this and keep the motivation and so forth?
At this point for me, it's more just habit. I actually enjoy working out. It doesn't really take that long of a time. I go to the gym like 3 or 4 times a week for maybe an hour and a half. So per week, that's maybe 4 to 5 hours of working out, and it's 5 hours not a lot. Most people watch more than 5 hours of TV. So in terms of how much hours and time consumption it takes, working out is fairly small. Most people when they go out, they're going out for 5 hours per night. So if you could trade that for just going out
Wow.
3 or 4 times a week, it's not that hard. When I started out, I took a lot of supplements. So I took protein, creatine, and pre-workout. Protein and creatine, obviously, two important things for muscle growth. The pre-workout gives you a lot of energy. It's something that you take before you go to the gym. It makes working out a lot of fun, and you can last a lot longer. And it's more of a motivational factor. And when you get to the point where you're consistently going out for months, it becomes a habit. And after you start seeing results plus the habit, it's just something that's like a part of you. So that's how I was able to kind of get the ball rolling in terms of pickup. And I was fortunate enough to have a very high metabolism. So I pretty much ate whatever I want, and I can still maintain a six pack. The only downside of having a fast metabolism is you have to eat a ton. So uh, it's like a trade off, right? I don't get fat, but I have to constantly be eating. So I spend a lot of money on food.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, I did a lot of heavy compound movements. So squats, barbell, deadlifts, bench press, military press, pull ups. And those are really heavy workouts that kind of spurt your growth hormones. And that's how you put on a lot of muscle
So
over a
just
fairly short time.
so just to be straight, you only do like 5 hours per week on average.
5 hours per week, yeah, or
Wow.
less.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm
I
not in
actually
the gym all the time.
Yeah, I actually heard something similar. I met this really jacked guy at the pool um, about like a month ago, and I went up to him and asked him, and he said something similar. He was doing it since 16. He only spends like 30 minutes a day, sometimes an hour, and he says, it's not unreasonable, but he's like 27 right now, and he's jacked.
Yeah.
Amazing
For a
work.
lot of for a lot of guys that are skinny, the biggest part is just eating enough. To be honest, you got to be eating like 4 or 5 thousand calories a day. People don't realize that. Like people think they eat a lot, but you look at bodybuilders and they're eating like 6,000 calories a day, 7,000 calories a day. So definitely for guys that are skinny, focus more on the eating part.
That's cool. So in terms of guys and how they can um, like get better. Let's say they're not getting the level of women that they want. What do you think that they can do? Maybe they're attracting people, but it's not near the level that they want.
Um, so a couple things, right? Go out consistently, move to a place where there's a lot of girls to do that. If you're in a small city, you just can't do it. Hang out. Another key critical thing is hang out with guys that are better than you. Couple ways to do this, right? One is you could pay for coaching. That's why I'm here. Number two is you can find out something that you can bring to the table, so that guys that you know who are good are willing to hang out with you. I feel like it's like an exchange of value. Okay, you may not be the coolest guy around. You may not be the guy that has the most game, but maybe you have some other quality that somebody who does have game may not and want. So try to figure out what it is and utilize that to befriend guys that have game. And that is probably one of the biggest things. If you have friends that have game, you have friends that approach and go out and get results, just you being near them will help you significantly. So maybe one of your friends is a natural and has a lot of game, somebody who's just naturally good with women, but he doesn't have a car. Well, volunteer to give him a ride to the club. Maybe you have a acquaintance or you met a guy at a club who has a car and has game. Buy him a drink. If you think about pickup coaching or dating coaching, they're not expensive. Or they're not cheap. They're a couple $1,000s a weekend. Buy the guy a couple of drinks. How much of an investment is that? If he becomes your friend, you're going to be hanging out a lot more with him than a couple of days on a weekend boot camp. What other methods? If you're good with photography, maybe be that fun social guy that provides good pictures to all the friends that may be good with game. So whatever it is, find out what you're good at and kind of utilize that to kind of network and bring guys that are good, surround yourself with them. Let's see. And some other things, it just depends on what you're lacking. If you're overweight, then the biggest thing is to lose weight. If you're skinny, the biggest thing is to put on weight. If your fashion is lacking, but everything else is not, then that's what you work on. So, everybody has their own different issues that they work on. The thing, if you have like one major thing setting you back, then working that will significantly help you improve. Some guys are lacking in a whole bunch of different areas equally. Then you have to raise all those equally, and that might take some time too, right? If you're just a guy with amazing game, you have good lifestyle, but you're 500 pounds, you don't need to go out as much as somebody else because you already have game. What you need to do is lose weight because I don't care how good your game is, but if you weigh 500 pounds, it's going to turn off a big percentage of the women, right? You're only going to get girls that care about your personality so much that it overrides your setback in weight. So just depends on where what's holding you back and what's your sticking points.
Oh wow, I never thought about that way. I think it was actually you. I remember you saying something about a few years ago. I think I stumbled across one of your videos, and it was you said something like, there's for a certain point you can lose. It'd be much more useful of your time to spend in the gym rather than going out and practicing.
Yeah, if you're going out, 20, 30 hours, minus 5, and then take that 5 and go to the gym, right? Everything is everything is diminishing returns, okay? If you go out once a month, then obviously going out twice a month is going to be huge. But if you're going out like 3-4 times a week, another night out could probably be used for other things. If you're if you're heavily lacking in social skills, 4 or 5 nights a week. If you're just moderate and you're like me, who had decent verbals to begin with, focus on other areas. So, like I said, it's diminishing returns. If I want to get from 20% body fat to 10% body fat, fairly easy. But if I want to get from 10% body fat to like 5% body fat, that's going to be really hard. So it's not going to be linear. It's not like, if I lose 5%, it's going to be the same amount of effort to lose another 5%, right? It becomes exponentially hard. Same with all of these other things. You have multiple factors that are increasing your success of the game. Raising one to the very limits, but lacking significantly in other areas, uh, is not ideal. It's better to have like baseline or satisfactory um, levels in multiple areas than it is to have like one that's really amazing, everything else is completely lacking. It's more about balance. If you're reasonably decently, if you're if you have decent game and you take care of yourself decently and you have a decent lifestyle, it's going to be better than a guy who has amazing game but is homeless and is overweight, right? So kind of spread it out a little bit.
Oh wow, that's cool. And I guess again, thank you so much, Mike, for spending your time here. You're obviously a very busy person, so thank you for spending the time. So right now, you're completely doing this business full time. You
Yeah, I do
with
it
the
full time
engineering.
in Vegas. Pretty much go out every single weekend with students. So I basically do no more than three guys, so I can only manage three people per weekend. So, but it's been definitely a blast, and I meet a lot of. There's definitely rewards in doing teaching pickup because guys that are willing to spend money on dating and coaching who can fly to Vegas and do that sort of thing are usually guys who have gotten certain areas of their life, such as education and career, taken care of. So while I'm kind of teaching them about game and dating, there's a lot of things I'm learning from them as well. I mean, guys who are yoga instructors, doctors, other engineers, people who are even I had a guy who is a Grammy winner, somebody that is running 800 meters and is planning on going to the Olympics. So I meet a lot of interesting people, and I think it's definitely been an interesting journey for me as well.
Wow, that's quite amazing. Yeah. So again, you guys can check out his stuff. I'll probably leave a link in the description. Um, Mike, you want to say anything else?
Yeah, if you want to check out my videos, it's youtube.com/Squattin Casanova.
All right. And uh, okay, so there's this one thing I want to say. I'm not sure if I want to add this into video. I might cut this
Okay,
out.
all right.
So I've been getting a lot of requests from a lot of people to talk about a certain person. His name's Elliot Rogers, and I haven't done so.
Yeah,
So Mike, do you want to talk about that a little bit, or just give
if you
your
want.
views
I
on it?
mean, I don't really know the guy. I didn't really find out what happened till the event happened. Um, he was actually subscribed to my YouTube channel, but he never messaged me or anything like that. I think he probably just lurked and just read or watched some of my videos. But um, I can see his frustration. I think a lot of it is just the um, lack of getting results, lack of going out and doing it, lack of having a positive mindset. I think there are a lot of people like that where um, they read pickup, but a lot of pickup is there's a lot of marketing, there's a lot of bullshit, and some of the materials online makes it seem like it's so easy. And dating and pickup is one of those things. For some people, it's super easy. For some guys, getting girls is ridiculously easy. For other guys, it's very hard. I've never seen. It's one of those things where there's a huge disparity. It's not even like lifting weights. Like one guy might lift 100 pounds, and another guy might lift 300, and that's maybe like a 3-to-1 ratio. Okay, one guy's stronger than another guy by a fold of three. When you're talking about success with women, one guy can get laid with 1,000 girls, and then there are other guys who are still virgins. So it's a huge uh, disparity in terms of skills. So when people read things on the internet and they see other guys getting results, this and that, sometimes there's a misalignment in expectation. When I was interning for a dating coach, I had a pretty clear expectation of what my work ethics needed to be and what my results are expected to be. So I think there are guys like Elliot who just, they got into pickup thinking that this is a quick fix solution, but then they try going out like one or two times, they got bad results, and then they become bitter, right? So and that's unfortunate. And there are other sites like that where I think that's what it is, a misalignment between expectations and reality. Ultimately, um, there are limitations of game. It's not gonna. You can't just expect to go out a couple weeks and be bringing home Victoria's Secret models. It doesn't work like that. So I think if he had better mentors, things would be differently. But obviously, nobody can really predict. I mean, there's thousands of guys. He didn't really reach out for help. So it is what it is.
Do you
That's
have
kind of
any?
my take on it.
Yeah. Do you have any quick advice for anyone out there who may be struggling in a similar path and might and trying to seek help? What do you think they should be doing?
Well, it's all about how much money you have, right? Money can get you a lot of things. If you have money, you can fix your fashion right away. You can get coaching; it'll save you a lot of time. If you don't have money, and then it's going to be a long road, and that's why I stress uh, lifestyle and getting an education, getting a career, because um, who you hang out with has a big deal with where you're going to end up being. You heard that phrase, you are the average of the top five guys you hang out with. You hang out with homeless people, you're not going to get rich. You hang out with business oriented people, you're going to get rich. If you hang out with guys that are meatheads at the gym, you're going to get buff. So if you have a good lifestyle, you have money, and you can afford coaching, but you don't have time, you don't have friends, get coaching. If you're uh, if you don't have money, then you kind of have to prioritize. What does it matter more? If you're living off of ramen, probably pickup coaching is not the best use of your money. Um, I started pickup when I was 28. So, there's plenty of time. If I can start out at 28 and some college or high school guy reads this, it's not too late, right? I would just wait, get your college degree, work a year or two, and start. You're 23, 24. You get good in a year or two. You're still like 25, 26. So, there's plenty of time. And one thing I noticed is that age doesn't matter as much for guys as it is for girls. Guys in their 30s actually have a dating advantage over girls in their 30s. I think girls in the early 20s kind of rule the dating scene, but it comes down to game, status, money, power, and guys in their 30s usually are at kind of their peak in terms of their career and things like that. Um, so I wouldn't worry about it. So guys that are young, again, kind of balance between the both of career and pickup. Go out when you can. And guys that are late, if you have money, just get coaching or network and find guys that are decent, and that'll help you kind of increase your level of game.
All right. Thank you so much once again for being here. Thanks for watching this show. And as always, like, favorite, comment, share this video with your friends, and subscribe. I'll see you guys later.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem.